Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 1059 The Zone. The Rogue Men's Store. Today, Friday, and Saturday at the Rogue Men's Store, right there south of Highland Village in the iconic building. The Rogue Men's Store, 20% off the entire store. Today, Friday, and Saturday. 20% off the entire store at the Rogue Men's Store in Jackson. Don't forget that Spring Street Cigars is also located in that building. And it's so the Rogue moved up to the front of the building, totally renovated that space. So it's like a brand new store in the same building. And then Spring Street Cigars took the 3 floors in the back. You got a full bar, floor 1, first floor. Second floor, you've got a lounge area to smoke your cigar or have a beverage. You've got a walk-in humidor that's absolutely beautiful with Davidoff and Fuente and Rocky Patel cigars. Third floor, another lounge area and the private club. And then outside on the I-55 side of the Rogue building, Spring Street Cigars, you got a rooftop deck, which is beautiful. It's really, really nice. See all the way up and down I-55. But 20% off at everything in the store at the Rogue Men's Store today, Friday, and Saturday. We want to welcome in our friend Brad Edwards, who spent 25 years at ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. This is 1059 The Zone ESPN. Brad, we ask everybody this. Have you talked to Lane Kiffin?
No. Haven't spoken to Lane in about 10 years, so.
Okay.
Can't help you.
All right, so it's Bama-Auburn week, and you've lived this for some time, the Iron Bowl. And Auburn's looking for a coach, and they have an interim coach. And Bama has to go down there and win to go to the college football playoff. So all the pressure is on the Alabama Crimson Tide as they face interim coach DJ Durkin. Is that how you see it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to say Auburn has something on the line other than pride, it would be bowl eligibility. Now, how much does the team really care about, becoming 6-6 and going to whatever bowl that might give them? I mean, beating Alabama is a far bigger deal and ruining their season than it would be whatever consolation you would get in making your own bowl appearance. But this is for everything for Alabama. And if they don't blow that Oklahoma game, they probably don't have to win this. At the same time, I would say that if you are Alabama and you lose not only to Florida State and Auburn in the same season, given what those teams are this season, if you lose both of those, you don't even deserve to be in the conversation for the playoff.
Agreed.
And especially when you consider one of them was the first game of the season and the other is the last game of the season. The slow start is understandable. Whatever happened, and they got better or whatever. But if you cap it off by losing to Auburn, you deserve to be out of the playoff, and that's exactly where they will be if they lose this game. And so this essentially is a playoff game for Alabama because they must win this to keep the season going as far as, the part of the season that has any chance to end with the national championship. It starts here and they have to win. And so this is a playoff type thing for them. And I'm sure for Auburn, it's going to feel the same way, which is like, this is their season right here. This is their opportunity to do something that they can remember. And, the strange thing about this rivalry, I mean, we love to say with all big rivalries, just throw out the records. They don't matter. Anybody can win. Anything can happen. That's not actually true for the Iron Bowl. I did this research years ago, and I believe that there's been only one time in the entire Alabama-Auburn rivalry that an unranked team has beaten a top 10 team. That said, the last 2 times Alabama has gone down there to Jordan-Hare, this has been the situation. Like, it's been Alabama with playoff hopes on the line against an Auburn team that was really playing for nothing other than the rivalry itself. And both of those games, 2021 and 2023, Alabama needed a minor miracle to survive and come out of there with a win. So even though history tells you this is a game that Alabama in this case, but whenever it's the team that is expected to win is going to win, it happened with the winner getting out of there by the skin of its teeth the last couple of times that trend was in play. So I expect something very similar this weekend. I think this ends up being a full 4-quarter game.
How surprised are you that Alabama can't run the football?
At this point, I'm not surprised. But midway through the season, it was quite shocking. And you look at the guys. They're obviously all high 4-star, 5-star recruits, and they look the part. Most of them are 340, 350, 360. These are enormous guys, and they can't push anybody around. I've never sat there and watched the game over and really scrutinized the offensive line play. I don't know if it's a case of it just on any given play, like one guy always gets beat, and that's the reason the play blows up. Like, in other words, is it 3 or 4 guys are doing what they're supposed to do, and the one guy that screws it up ends up, having the play busted? Or is it just a simple case of, none of them are really that good? I think the center is good. But other than that, I think, they all struggle at various points in a game. And, the thing for me is that in college football, I think in football in general these days, if you can't run the ball, that's okay. As long as you can pass protect, you can win at a really high level in college football with a mediocre running game if you just give your quarterback time to throw and you have a talented quarterback and good receivers, which Alabama does. The problem is that in addition to being atrocious at run blocking, they're slightly better, maybe, average at pass blocking. And that's been the issue in the last few weeks. Ty Simpson has his accuracy has dropped off, and I think it's because he's just getting so much pressure. And sometimes he's even feeling the pressure when it's not there, or expecting the pressure when it's not there. And I think if you look at this Alabama team and you point a finger at why are they even in a position right now where making the playoffs is a question, it's the offensive line, just clearly. Now, I also think Alabama's running backs, and especially the one who gets the majority of the carries, Jam Miller, I don't think he's a great running back either. Certainly compared to some of the guys Alabama's had, in recent years. But, he tends to dance around a lot, doesn't hit the hole quickly. And it's crazy. I watch games on Saturday, and, name your team. I'm flipping channels, and you'll see someone break off a run, and I'll think to myself, Alabama hasn't broken off a run like that all year. I may be exaggerating here, but off the top of my head, get rid of the Eastern Illinois and Louisiana Monroe, whatever. Just stick to the 9 games they played against Power 4 competition. I don't think Alabama has more than 3 runs of 20+ yards this year.
Yikes!
And most of the time, it feels like, I could be wrong, but it feels like 80% of their running plays gain a maximum of 3 yards. And a lot of time, the guys are getting hit in the backfield. And it's bad. It's really, really bad. I don't know if you remember this, Bo, but I think it was 1994 when Georgia had Eric Zier. They had a great passing game, but for whatever reason, they could not run the ball. They may have even had Terrell Davis as a running back then, but they could not run the ball. And at the end of one game, I want to say it was the cocktail party, but after the game was over, Ray Goff in the post-game press conference said that he had come to the decision. Obviously, he's very frustrated at this point. He says, I've reached the decision that a running play is a wasted play, and we're just not going to run the ball anymore. Now, obviously, they they didn't. It wasn't like Army or Navy where they have 0 running plays in a game. They still did it a few times, but for the most part, he kept his word, and they just threw. And I really think, I felt like for a month now, that's what Alabama needs to do. Just stop wasting plays with 1 or 2 yard runs. Just go out there and throw it. And with the talent that they have at quarterback and receiver, throw the ball 3 times, you should gain 10 yards. Move the chains.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, there's just no way it's going to get any better.
Right.
I don't know what you're expecting when you continue to run the ball the way they are, but it is bad, and it really is hard to believe when you consider the supposed talent or talent profile of the offensive linemen and the running backs.
Yeah, I did not think. We're visiting with Brad Edwards. He spent 25 years at ESPN college football team. He's joining us on the Out of Bounds show, brought to you by the Rogue Men's Store. 20% off everything in the store today, Friday and Saturday. I did not think that in year 2, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb coming back to join him as the offensive coordinator. I'm not saying that I thought maybe they'd be top 10 in rushing, but I didn't think they'd be this bad, Brad, with the portal and the way they recruit.
Although I think if you look at his team at Washington, and you look at their offensive line and the type of players that they had there, much like we discussed last year, where the quarterback he inherited, Jalen Milroe, was not his type of quarterback for the system he wants to run. I would also say that these, 330, 340-pound offensive linemen are not his style either, and he kind of inherited them. And so, assuming DeBoer is there for 3 more years, I think what you'll see is that the offensive line is going to get a little bit smaller, more athletic, more agile, where they can do just basically built for the types of things that he wants to do. He's not a guy it's not going to be power running, between the tackles, pancake blocks, all that old school stuff. That's not going to be his style of running the ball. But when you can throw the ball really well and you spread out a defense and then you can just hit them with some runs here and there, it can be very effective in terms of yards per rush. And I think that's what I would expect that you would get out of Alabama, probably 2 years from now. But I think they're still dealing with, kind of the players, the holdovers from the Saban recruiting classes that obviously, they're the types of players that worked well for what Alabama did offensively back then. But I don't know that they're the greatest fit for what DeBoer wants to do now.
Okay. And how about Auburn, Brad? Their strength is defense. They're actually really good. They've been awful under Freeze on offense. And, Durkin has got a lot of experience, as you know, at Ole Miss and A&M and Auburn now in the league with some other experience too. Alabama should win the game, but it's like Auburn's strength is defense. So they could give them a hard time throughout the night on Saturday night, don't you think?
Yeah, they absolutely could. And, outside of Vanderbilt, nobody has really had a good offensive game against Auburn this year. And it makes you wonder, what is the maximum Alabama could score? How many points are they going to need to win this? And of course, the other factor is that since Auburn went away from Jackson Arnold at quarterback, that they've started moving the ball and started scoring some points. Now, it's a small sample. Alabama's defense, I would say, is a good bit better than the ones that we've seen that offensive improvement from Auburn against. But I think that's let's put it this way. If you're Alabama, you don't want to fall behind in this game. You definitely don't want to get behind by more than 1 score, because that Auburn defense is good enough that it's going to be difficult to put together multiple scores if you need to come back and win the game. So I think the first quarter of this game is going to be a really big deal because of not only the quality of Auburn's defense, but also Auburn's offense and And even though it has been a lot better the last two games, I can certainly see where if their offense was struggling and they fell behind, that they could start pressing offensively and start making a lot of mistakes, because that's not their strength. So it certainly shapes up to be, a defensive game where I don't think it's far-fetched to think that 20 points could win it. But you know what? Oklahoma is also a very good defense.
They are.
And Alabama played them 2 weeks ago, and they scored 3 touchdowns on them, and they gave away I don't know how many other opportunities that they could have scored. So they, despite not being able to run the ball, they still moved the ball pretty well and had a lot of opportunities to score against Oklahoma. So it really is hard. Here's the thing, like my feeling about a month ago, when it looked like Alabama was going to go into the Iron Bowl with 1 loss, I was certain that they were going to lose to Auburn. Like, it just set up with that typical kind of game that would be a letdown for a Kalen DeBoer team on the road against an unranked team, especially if Alabama had already clinched a spot in the SEC championship game, had pretty much already clinched a spot in the playoff. I had no doubt they were going to lose to Auburn. Now that they lost to Oklahoma, and it is a must-win for Alabama for chances of winning the SEC and making the college football playoff, my attitude toward the game changes a lot because like I said earlier, this basically is a survival game here, much different than I thought it was going to set up, and so I think it's intriguing now to see, okay, what does Alabama do with its back against the wall? And I would say that the last time we saw them in that position was at Georgia. When they had lost the opener to Florida State, they beat a couple of teams out of conference that they were expected to beat, and then they opened conference play, game number 4, with that game in Athens. And you felt like, look, if you drop 2 games before the end of September, you're just not going to be able to put together the run that you need to keep your season alive. And they found a way to win that game. And so I think there is some evidence that this team, when it is in a must-win situation, when backs are against the wall, that they can kind of crank it up a notch. And I think they're going to have to on Saturday.
Brad Edwards spent 25 years at ESPN. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler GMC, Pearl Brandon. All right, Brad, let's switch gears. Through all your travels, Southern Cal with Pete Carroll, all your game day travels, ESPN radio, did you ever meet Kiffin through all your years with ESPN?
Yeah, actually, it was at USC. That was. In fact, I was trying to think what year that was. I said 10 years ago earlier. I think it was longer than that. Whenever he was head coach at USC, we went there for a game when they were playing Stanford. I believe it was when Andrew Luck was still. Actually, it might have been right after Andrew Luck. But it was I can't remember if they were both in the top 10. I'm pretty sure Stanford was in the top 10. But it was a big game at the Coliseum, and talked to Kiffin the day before the game. I can't remember if I probably did interview him at ESPN when they had the preseason coaches car wash, in July before SEC Media Days. It's been a long time since I talked to him, but I have talked to him before.
All right, so you interviewed him when he was the head coach at Southern Cal. Ed Ogeron was out there, and so on. Was he weird? Was he? No, just totally. No. All right, tell me about it.
Yeah, no, and in fact, it's. I mean, look, I've obviously never been around him in an environment where he was, where his guard was down, and I mean, because I'm a media member who he doesn't really know, so it's not like he's going to be cracking jokes and everything. But the times that I have been around him, I'm not saying like he's stiff, but he was just, serious in the way that you would expect a coach to be who's in the middle of the season. But yeah, it's kind of funny because if you are just around him talking football and in that environment, you don't see that side of him that comes out on social media, with whatever you would call that, snark or whatever, and so it is kind of funny to see the way that he is when he's interacting and taking his little jabs here and there, because who he is in a kind of a public space seems a little bit inconsistent with that. And so it is I guess a little strange to see the way and I'm sure he is one of those guys who, when he's alone with the team or with the coaching staff or whatever, probably has a lot of laughs and does all that stuff.
Sure.
But at least around the media, he's not. I wouldn't say he just ever struck me as much different than most of the guys that we covered.
I love it. Brad Edwards, 25 years at ESPN, joining us to talk a little Alabama and Auburn. According to the latest college football playoff rankings, they would play at Ole Miss if we did this thing today. So
that's what Alabama would be at Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Last year, now granted it was the first year of the 12-team format, and so it's one season sample. And they didn't do it last year. But I would be interested to see if the committee, when it comes down to it, if they would actually create opening round games between teams. Now, in this case, they didn't play each other this season, which I guess would give them a little bit more leeway. But, in some of these cases, they could easily create conference matchups of games that had already been played earlier in the season. And I just happen to think that if it comes down to it, no matter what they say, no matter what their guidelines say, that if they can move one team up or down a spot to keep that from happening, to have a conference matchup in the first round of the playoffs, I think they would do it. Maybe I'll be proven wrong this year, but if there are 5 or 6 teams from the SEC, then that might be difficult to avoid. But we'll see how it shakes out.
Hey, Brad, thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving, my man.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody there, too. Take care.
Brad Edwards grew up here in Jackson, Mississippi. Went to the University of Alabama, 25 years with ESPN. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Where's a cool spot for game day? Well, it's Martin's in Livingston. Beautiful restaurant and bar, and fabulous food. Martin's in Livingston. From the gumbo and the wings to the po' boys, and of course the blue plates daily throughout the week. Good morning, welcome in. I think we're going to make some White Russians for Jackson Meadows. If I make a White Russian, will you drink one? Okay, he said yes. We'll raise a toast to his high school playing career. Back in a second.